Well, major red alert to share with you guys today. Conservative slash populist leaders all over the globe are massively under attack right now. They are being banned. Political parties are being banned, and top candidates are having criminal prosecutions against them, just like coincidentally, Donald Trump here in the United States of America. It's almost as if there is a global effort to remove populist and conservative candidates from elections. I've got a lot to share with you, and quite frankly, this is one of the most important reports I have done in a while because things that are happening abroad, as you see, happen here in America with Donald Trump. And thank God he was able to get through some of the prosecutions and become president. But God forbid we get a Democrat back in office. I guarantee you, if we don't start taking action right now under the Trump administration and start prosecuting people for actual crimes committed that they have done to Donald Trump and others, then it is going to happen tenfold. And I can guarantee you that conservatives and conservative leaders all over America will be targeted once Democrats get back into office. I've got a lot to share with you. Let's start first with the latest attacks. This one comes all the way from France with Marie Le Pen, and it's headlined, "Political Death Sentence. Populist Marie Le Pen banned from running in French presidential election by a court." This is on Breitbart News, but also it goes on to say this: a Paris court ruled on Monday that National Rally leader Marie Le Pen will be ineligible to run for public office for 5 years, including in the upcoming presidential race, after being found guilty of embezzlement by Union funds. A political death sentence has been handed out to three-time presidential candidate and current frontrunner, there's the key, in the race to replace President Emmanuel Macron in 2027, Marie Le Pen. It concludes, the Paris court found that Le Pen, along with 8 other National Rally members of the European Parliament, had embezzled 2.9 million in euros in funds intended for Parliament assistance for the party in Strasbourg on political operations in France. The court's president found Le Pen personally guilty of embezzling 474,000 euros, Le Monde reported. Le Figaro reports that she was sentenced to 4 years imprisonment, which will likely be served on probation with an electronic tag rather than jail, a fine of 100,000 euros, and 5 years of ineligibility from running for public office. This is absolute insanity. You can't tell me that right around the time that she is up in the polls, it's suddenly bang, now they've charged her with embezzlement. Sounds oddly familiar to what they did to Donald J. Trump. And take a look. She is actually massively ahead in the polls. Here's the poll numbers. You can see all the names up there. And hers is higher than any other candidate. God forbid a populist wins an election. Now, she has vowed to stand against this. And this just came out recently. Marie Le Pen vows to fight the ban, won't allow French elections to be stolen by lawfare ruling. So I don't know what she intends to do personally, but she does intend to stand against this. But what is absolutely going to chill you to the very core is the fact that this is happening to multiple leaders across the globe, not just her and Donald J. Trump. But before I dive into that, I want to remind you first, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. YouTube likes to unsub people, so please make sure you check that and like the video. On top of it, get to restrictedrepublic.com. Justice Knight and I are on there. He put out a massive report that's coming out later today. You're not going to want to miss. But for less than a cup of coffee or a glass of beer, you can get it for $5 per month using the coupon code Lisa and the number 5. And keep in mind that what you hear on YouTube, even though you're not paying for this, they control a lot of the information that you see on Restricted Republic. We are there to give you the real deal of what's going on. So please make sure you get there and subscribe. Go there now. All right. With that, I want to get into who else these attacks are happening against. And they're all leading political candidates in some way, shape, or form. Take a look at this. It's not only happening to Marie Le Pen right now, and it not only happened to Donald Trump, but here also the ex-president Bolsonaro of Brazil. We have APnews.com. Brazil ex-president Bolsonaro will stand trial over alleged coup plans. They convicted him of some kind of coup because, God forbid, he is implementing or wants to implement some of his populist and conservative policies. Then we also have stuff going on in Pakistan. Imran Khan, Pakistani former prime minister, jailed for 10 years in state secrets case. So here's a guy in he is the former PM, and hey, let's put him behind bars. We don't like his views. Not just those two, or four, shall I say, but also Italy, right? Here we have the AP News. Italy's Deputy Prime Minister, Matteo Salvini, faces a potential 6-year prison sentence in migration trial. Now, they have found him not guilty, but in any case, these are direct attacks against populist conservative candidates all over the globe, from Italy to Brazil to America to France, and not just there, also all the crap that went down in Romania. They actually canceled their presidential election. And here is just a little bit of background if you haven't heard it already, right? 48 hours before Romanians were due to vote in a presidential election runoff, the whole process was scrapped because of an unprecedented ruling by the Constitutional Court. The court's decision to annul the first round came after far right, aka conservative, populist, independent candidate, and his name there is Carlito Cesco, came out of almost nowhere to lead the first round 2 weeks ago amid allegations of Russian interference. Now, Cesco had condemned the ruling as a coup, and Romania may have to wait months to vote again. Wow. So there's all the stuff that's happening in Romania, and now the Romanian far-right presidential hopeful detained on streets and even indicted, and then the final ruling bars him from Romanian vote. Coincidence there? I think not. Absolutely not. And I love the way that Mike Benz put all of this, and he kind of sums it up in this X post. He says, Marie Le Pen in France, Bolsonaro in Brazil, Imran Khan in Pakistan, Matteo Salvini in Italy, Donald Trump in America, Carlito Cesco in Romania. The criminal prosecution of every populist challenger is a dagger in the heart of the credibility of democracy. While leaders like Emmanuel Macron are saying, oh, there's an attack on democracy. No, they are the ones attacking democracy, and it is ever so clear. And you know what? Here's the thing. When the radical left cannot win via democratic vote, they abuse the legal system and take their opposition to jail. That is exactly what is going on here, and it's a global playbook. You've seen it. You saw it happening right now. And it's all over the globe. And the United States of America is not exempt. As you have seen, they've done it with Donald J. Trump. And when Donald Trump's not in office anymore, I think this kind of stuff is only going to explode. And speaking of so-called democracy, how about the fact, just adding a little fuel to the fire, that Ukraine hasn't had an election since they ignited their war. In fact, the elections have been suspended, just to show you. And I know some of these facts you may already know, but when you take them all in together, it makes a very powerful point here. And it's Ukraine hasn't held elections since Russia's full-scale invasion. And this is on the AP. And that's not all. Over in Germany, they're actually attempting to ban, or trying to ban as soon as possible, the AfD party, which is more populist conservative group there in Germany. And here's that. And this is absolutely terrifying, by the way. This is on the EuropeanConservative.com. German ruling parties want to ban AfD as soon as possible. Not just that, they've already taken away some of their rights, right? German court rules that members of far-right AfD cannot own firearms. In fact, they've been labeled extremists. German court says far-right AfD is suspected of extremism. Kind of sounds like what Joe Biden and his administration were doing to conservatives here, where he was saying, you know, the far right is the worst extremist party in our country. We're not exempt here in America. We had a very thin window to get in Donald Trump to stop it, which thank God we actually did. But that window is still at risk if and when they win the next election, which is fully possible because right now there's a lot of stuff going on, specifically in Wisconsin, that we have to pay attention to. And I'm going to get into that in a moment. But before I do, also what I want you to be aware of with this, and this is kind of a little bit of a sidetrack, but these are the kind of policies that come out from these radical lefts who are controlling the globe, because quite frankly, they are. Zero Hedge, British Council institutes harsher criminal sentencing, but only if you're a white male. That is racist to the core. The Sentencing Council of England and Wales, a non-departmental public body which determines the guidelines for court punishments of convicted offenders, has recently made controversial changes and ignited a firestorm among the British populace. The council has announced that special exceptions in sentencings will be made for ethnic minority offenders, the majority of violent crime in Britain, and religious minority offenders, as well as female offenders. In other words, everyone except for white males will enjoy reduced sentencing, creating a two-tier justice system that targets white men for harsher treatment. In other words, if you're anything but white, they're going to give you less sentence if you commit some kind of crime or offense. Talk about racism. That is what is happening. And to be really, really frank with you, if these things, if they're allowed to take out all these populist and conservative candidates from their ability to run for office and their ability to win, what kind of world do we actually live in? Is it a free world or a rather authoritarian one where a group of people like Emmanuel Macron, where people like him can say, oh, yeah, we just don't want that, so we're not going to do it. In fact, we are seconds away from everything changing here in the United States and putting it back in Democrat control. And I'll be really frank with you. I am terrified about the midterms. I am terrified about the next election because of the fact that the mainstream media is out there lying, blatantly lying about everything that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing. They're out there saying they're taking away your Social Security, their Medicare, your blah, blah, blah. It's just a lie. He's getting rid of the fraud within those industries. And that is freaking it. He's saving the American people money. And meanwhile, you have these radical leftists that are eating it up, not even paying attention to truth because they're so brainwashed to only listen to one side of the story that they have no info on the other side, and thus cueing all of these anti-American, anti-Tesla, anti-Trump protests that are happening all over in the country. Now, what really terrifies me is what's going on in Wisconsin right now. Take a look at what Elon Musk had to say about it. This is why the Tuesday Supreme Court election in Wisconsin is so important nationally. The left wants to redraw the Wisconsin voting districts to gain control of the U.S. House of Representatives. It's Tuesday, April 1st right now, right? So if they win and they redraw those districts, I believe we'll lose 2 seats. 2. That is devastating. That is devastating. And I like what Insurrection Barbie had to say about that. She goes, if we actually take our eyes off the ball and lose these next elections, not only is Trump going to go to prison, but every single person in the conservative movement that has a big name and a big voice is going to go to prison as well. When you pick a fight with the most corrupt forces, which is what Donald Trump and Elon Musk has done, you better win and you better keep winning. Otherwise, they're going to come back and be 10 times as tyrannical, which is exactly what I have been stressing on my channel. They will come back 10 times harder if A, we don't keep winning, and B, there are no consequences for their actions that are criminal. What they did to Donald J. Trump was criminal. They made up crimes and went after him. They tried to bankrupt him, tried to prosecute them. The January 6ers, where they gave him harsher punishments than anyone else on the planet, where they went after meme makers like David McKee or Mackey, right? For a meme that he put out about Hillary Clinton, where they started jailing their political opposition like Roger Stone, Michael Flynn, going after Rudy Giuliani, all of Donald Trump's lawyers and people who were associated with him. And it didn't stop at that, folks. It did not. They used the IRS toward conservatives, something that they had to apologize for because, we didn't really use the IRS against the Tea Party, but yet they actually did, and then came out later and said, oh, we're sorry. We're sorry about that. But no consequences have been dished out. Right now, no one's gone to jail for any of those kinds of crimes. No one's yet really been indicted, shall we say. I'm still waiting for that. And if that don't happen, I guarantee you when they get in, it'll be 10 times worse. Anyhow, I wanted to bring all of that to you. But if you want to get into the nitty gritty, sign up for Restricted Republic. Please go there. We really pour our hearts out on what's going on. We do live streams off and on as well. I encourage you to check that out there. And it is only $5 a month. You can support what we do and you get the real facts of what is going on. Use the coupon code Lisa and the number 5 to check it out. Anyhow, with all of that, I love you guys. I'm Lisa Haven signing out.